Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody. This is a very exciting venture for me, and I hope for you too. Spiritual development circles have been something that were around for a very long time a while back, and they seem to have fallen off the table as something that people wanted to do. They had other areas they wanted to delve into, and people have moved into new directions, and so I have been hungry for a group of people to talk to about spiritual concepts, about what spirituality is, about how we apply it to our lives, about just how do we make ourselves better people and manifest that wonderful joy within our reality. And when I was trying to figure out how to start this all out, it became a dilemma for me, because I have to admit I didn't know where actually to begin. So I think I need to give you at least one other confession here before we start. I don't have all the answers. I have opinions on everything, but I don't have all the answers, and neither do any of you or anybody else around here. So basically, a spiritual development group is a place where we can bring forward our inner truths, share them with other people, and build on them and expand them and sort of learn from each other. This is a place where we learn from each other. Though I may be a teacher by trade, in this particular setting, I'm a facilitator. That's it. I realize that some of you may not be comfortable with talking on the radio or whatever, so if you have questions, type them into the chat room, and we'll try to answer them as we go along. I welcome debate. I welcome discourse. I just want you to understand that the premise here is that everybody is right and nobody is wrong, because we're talking philosophy here. And philosophy is our own personal theories. So you can't say something that is wrong. And as a matter of fact, if you hold your inner truths inside and never verbalize them, they can't grow. So by putting your inner truths out here where others can talk about them, it means you're sharing your inner wisdom. It means that other people listening can like part of it and take that into their own, or add to yours if they feel so moved. It's a wonderful sharing place where we can learn to grow. And I think for those of you who are not in the field, who are just here to learn how to be a better person, I have to tell you that one of the things that I have to kind of put your mind at ease, I am not going to tell you have to meditate, because to be perfectly honest with you, meditation does not stretch your spirituality. It may give you a lower blood pressure, and it may make you more tranquil inside, but spirituality is how we manifest the joy of the Spirit within us, within our reality. And it has nothing to do with meditation. Meditation is a great tool for becoming peaceful and tranquil within. But it doesn't do anything for the evolution of the spirit that is within you, or me, or anybody. So when looking at how do we go about this, how do we get involved in a class, in a place where we can all develop ourselves and become better people because of it and stretch our consciousnesses, it occurred to me that we're talking about spirits, and while we all agree that we have a spirit inside of us, possibly we have different philosophies as to how that spirit came to be and what that spirit is. So I'm going to go right back to the very beginning. And in the beginning, there was an etheric essence. It had no form, it had no shape, it was just pure energy. And that essence is what created the cosmos, the universe, the galaxies, everything. And at some point in time, that energy sent out filaments, pieces of itself, all over creation. And those little specks of that infinite wisdom, that infinite etheric cosmos, that oneness, scattered all over planets and all over the cosmos and just everywhere there was, and there is no limit to where it went, so it was vast. And as those energies selected planets or wherever they selected to settle, the ones that settled, wherever they settled, they were pure energy. They were not a little spark. They were not a flake of dust. They were pure energy, formless, smellless, tasteless, touchless, just energy. And those that settled upon this earth plane had to create a way in order to interact with the environment that they settled in. So out of the ether, out of the magic that they had within them, they created forms, and those forms became our human bodies, so that they were able to inhabit that body and therefore touch the reality and experience all sorts of wonderful lessons upon the earth plane. Now, the spirit does not rest in the heart or in the soul or in the stomach. The soul itself is a part of every single atom that makes up the essence of you in this human body. The human body is sort of like an avatar. The brain, a conscious communication center, and a gathering place. And that element of the spirit that has control over that function of us is what we call our consciousness. That's where logic and reason and understanding and gathering of information takes place. That's where conscious thought takes place. The rest of us, the rest of that energy incorporated into the totality of who we are, is that creative oneness that is one with the infinite that created us. And I'm going to use all sorts of different terms. I'm going to avoid using the term God because that limits the scope and the breadth of what this energy totally was. So within us we have a piece of the infinite that has a direct line of communication to that infinite spirit. It has total consciousness. It is absolutely has total knowledge of the beginning of time to the end of time. It has magic inside of it, but we aren't in contact with the totality of what we carry within. And that's what a development class like this is for. It is to make us, to enable us to more better touch in with that spirit that we carry within us. Now these spirits, these forms that were created on this planet started out very primitively. And though they had a consciousness of an understanding of the great beyond, their consciousnesses that were limited to just this reality were very, very primitive. And so over the eons, the human species more or less became more and more dependent upon the logic and reason of the physical aspects of consciousness, and the higher consciousness, that spirit within, slowly pulled away so that the physical could do what it had to do. So, I'm telling you here that you carry within you a part of a spirit that is endless and timeless and pure energy, and you are a part of that. But it appears that over time, over generations of evolutions, we've forgotten that part of the divinity that is within us. The physical part of us, the logical part, demands that there be concrete proof, and for every question there is an answer. And if there isn't an answer, then we make up a story to explain it. Primitive man couldn't explain fire, so he made up stories of the gods, the unforeseen forces who were greater than they, and so was born the concept of gods, those more powerful. In reality, the human species has made it a habit of explaining the unknown with stories and creating gods out of those who are more powerful or wise, worshiping others who they perceive were above them in knowledge and physical abilities. And when the simple truth is that we all were created equally, all have that same spark of the infinite within us, and all have access to unlimited energy and wisdom, but not all have taken the trouble to strengthen that link to the infinite and flow with the energy that is within us. The extraterrestrials have the same spark of the infinite within them. We carry a master of energy within us. It's directly linked to the infinite. And I don't want to call it God because it's greater than God. And it's not, it limits it. And we're all on a spiritual journey through this plane, and we require sometimes a human deity of sorts. But we are that deity. We carry within us that wisdom, that knowledge, that strength, that power. And because we are etheric, because every fiber of our being, every molecule of our body has that etheric energy in it, we are in essence a deity as well. The Spirit's eternal and is going to travel through time and planes, dimensions and galaxies, and whatever is beyond all that. We carry that presence within us. And it's not out there. It's within here. And the true spiritual journey is that which reconnects with that part of our energy and helps us to work a greater synchronicity so that the consciousness and the higher consciousness can draw upon the wisdom and understanding that is within. So we have total control over this journey, in essence, and we absolutely do. But before incarnating, we requested situations be presented to us so that we could grow and expand our awareness. We put the intent out there. It was our intent that created these situations, and that's what created all the situations that have and ever will and ever have happened to us. We have total control over how we perceive our reality, and in that perception, control and joy and happiness is what we experience. Spirituality is the tool that we use to make the connections and that make the experiences joyful and abundant. Those inner truths that we carry are unique to us as individuals. They have been formed by our experience and by our culture and by our backgrounds, and it changes every lifetime. And as we grow and gather insight and wisdom, those truths will evolve and shift. And in doing a circle like this and sharing, we put energy and power into the words, and they take on lives of their own. So we learn from each other. Spirituality is not a concept to be worshipped. It is a philosophy to be lived. And it's based on love and compassion, that quality that created us in the very beginning and will be with us until the end of time. And I think one of the things that it's important for all of us to understand and to learn is that spirituality is a way of life. It's not only walking our talk, but it's examining our value systems and adjusting them accordingly. So that it's really, really exciting to have a group of people who have different philosophies and different ways of looking at things, And, this is not meant to be by any way, shape, or form a lecture. It's meant to be interaction between all of us, because all of you are masters. All of you carry within extreme wisdom and insight and compassion, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to share that even more with other people, and you wanted to sort of help to change the world. And we don't change the world by taking classes. We change the world by getting to know ourselves. We change the world by understanding the magic that is within and reaching for it and touching into it. And there are lots of different rules and laws and things like that we'll be going into over the next few weeks or months or however long. Somebody asked how long this was going to go on, and I said until I run out of material, and I can't imagine that ever happening, to be honest with you. But I want to sort of get us to an understanding here. If you have something you would like to say, I know that a lot of you have your little hands up, and that's fabulous, but we can't open all the microphones at one time. So if you have questions, if all of you who are in the chat room now can stop chatting amongst yourselves for a second, and you go down to your little smiley face, you'll see the little ninja warrior there. And if you want your mic opened, you just press that and push it into the chat room. And Deb will try to figure out who you are and will open your microphone for you so that you can talk. And if you have a question that you just want to type in the chat room, that's just fine. But the more we talk, the more energy we put into our words, the greater the energy that we create, the greater the energy that everybody has available to them. And, yeah, we could have everyone put their hand down, but then that's a great suggestion, Chris, except it doesn't work. But because Deb and I are going to have to be looking at chat room and the switchboard, and the switchboard's going to get big. So that is the Ninja Warrior, yes. If you have something you want to say, Deb will see that. She will open your microphone and she'll, tell me that somebody has a thought to say. And I know that not all of you are going to be extraordinarily comfortable with talking on air, but this is a closed group. This is a group of people who are all on a similar pathway. And it's important for all of us to understand how the energy works with everybody. I sent out, and yes, everybody's amongst friends. Trust me on that one. This is a private show. This will not be made private. It will not be made public. So that if you talk here, it stays here. What is it? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What speaks in Vegas, what speaks in the chat room stays in the chat room. You will have access to it only in archive if you use this address. You can find it in archive with this address, and then you can re-listen to it. You can download it. You can use it as much as you like. Deb, if you can figure out who sister friend Marie is in the queue, you could open her microphone. If you can find it, I'm not sure who she is either. Now I'm sending Deb scrambling. We're going to stumble through this for a little while, but sooner or later we'll get it all figured out. Spiritual development is really important to me, and to be honest with you, as I said before, I am selfishly using this as a way to grow, because having to put together information and having to understand exactly what it is that I am doing and how I am growing helps everybody else to do the same thing within themselves, and it's going to be different for everybody. She's still scrambling. I did see your name there. Yes, we have a Marie. Someplace here.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Hello.
Oh, hi. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
And I'm so glad you raised your hand, sort of.
I did. This is Marie.
Hi,
She
Marie.
found me.
I'm so glad you're here today and you're sharing with us, because this is such an amazing experience. Everybody here wants to grow from everybody else, and it's a fabulous way to grow. Personally, I think.
I think it's better Phyllis.
So tell me, I know that you signed on for spiritual development. Just what did you expect out of this? How are you going to use this for yourself?
I think I mentioned to you, Barbara, I've been wanting to do this for a long, long time, like 25 years. I mean, seriously do it. I find myself mentoring a lot of people and being mentored directly from divine source, what I call divine source. My teachings came in from the universe because I was told that they did not want my mind tainted by the understanding of man. So I felt kind of lonely for human people, and I would run here and there trying to find someone to discuss things with that I was getting. And I had a few diehard friends that were willing to listen to me, and a few more like Insight Star who was willing to, talk with me, but that was later on. So this is perfect because I wanted to be at a place where I could just talk and no one would run screaming out of confusion and, mind on fire, and and just have a place to, it's like being in a foreign land and everyone speaks a different language, and when you run into someone who knows your language and you can just talk, that's what it feels like, and that's what I came for.
Well, that's so true, and the reality here is that so much of today's society is take a class, become a master, and that's just not the way. It's not the way spirituality works. Spirituality is something that expands and grows and evolves with you, and if you're not making an effort to get to know yourself better, and I think that's something that really has to be made plain to everybody. Knowing yourself and loving yourself is one of the very first things we need to do. And it's not ego-based. It's understanding that we make mistakes and that we will grow from them and we will learn from them. And it's okay to fall on your face, because if you fall on your face, at least you've moved that much further. So that this is a way of learning how to walk our talk to a deeper, better way, in a deeper and better way. And I can think of no better way than to expand my awareness than to talk to other people who are stretching to do the same thing. We all have different backgrounds. We all come from different modalities. And because of that, we have something different to put into the pot. And I love the fact that there are so many people here. I was totally shocked by the number of people that signed up. I figured, hey, we'd have 10 or 12. And I think when at last count there were almost 50 people that had signed up between the 2 days.
And my, that's wonderful.
It is. It's a little scary, but it is wonderful. But the spiritual, it's wonderful to know that there are people who want to learn to touch the spirit within. And I think one of the biggest things that needs explaining to everybody is spirituality is touching into that spirit you carry within you. Not something out there, something in here. And it's getting to the in here that has the key to the out there. And we're not ready.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, two thoughts came to my mind, but this is dovetailing on what you're talking and speaking on now. I actually woke up one morning and realized some years ago that this whole journey here is strictly the ultimate graduation moment when you realize that you are here to learn about you. No one else. To take care of you, to meet you, and everyone else, as we've heard a million times, is a reflection of some part of us trying to stand in front of us like a mirror and say, look at me, how do you like this part? You want to keep it or you want to let it go? And we like to think there are millions and billions of people on the planet, but I suspect, and we'll talk about this maybe later, there's not that many of us here. We just think we're in a crowd of people, but it's a crowd of us, me, I.
Well, that's an interesting philosophy. I like that. Elmar said that she thinks that respect instead of love, about, how we deal with ourselves, and I think respect and love go hand in hand. I think you're absolutely right, Elmar, that loving ourselves, respecting ourselves, but more than that, it's not just, okay, I respect this part of me and I love this part of me. It's not that makes us spiritually. What makes us spiritual is turning around and I can preach a belief, but if I'm not walking it, it falls on empty ears. And that's the big thing. That's the most important thing that I think all of us need to really wrap ourselves around. Every religion out there is founded on the golden rule in one way or another. And it means, you treat others as you would like them to treat you. And that doesn't mean just a few. That means everybody. It means the guy that mows your lawn and the guy that opens the door for you at the post office. It means the guy that cuts you off when you're driving someplace. And it's so important that we understand that treating each other with love and respect, compassion and connection is really, really important. And you don't do this, you don't do it mushily. That's ridiculous. That's a crazy person. But you do it with kindness. And it feels to me that there are so many people out there that that preach spirituality and then shortchange someone, or preach spirituality and then charge $450 for a workshop. I'm not against people charging money for workshops and things like that. I think it's fabulous. But I do not believe personally myself, and this is only my own belief, but I don't believe that if I have spiritual information that I have a right to charge money to pass it on to somebody else. It was gifted to me by spirit, by my growth, by my awareness, by whatever I've done to come to this point in time. And so therefore I give it away. If there's anybody else there that wants to take advantage of it, wonderful. And I would hope that you would turn it around as well, because the only way we teach this, the only way we share this with other people is by living it. And if I am not, a living example and demonstration of my belief system, then I should not be sitting here talking to all of you.
I think from what I learned, what I do is I what I call do meditative prayer. And for me, I've been trained to be more telepathic. So those divine beings or Mother, Father, God that I'm communicating with, what I do is I just ask, how much should I charge this person? And it never fails that the millionaires get charged barely nothing. And people who are struggling a bit, they get charged more sometimes. And I wondered, and then I thought, when I got feedback, the very wealthy person says, oh, now I know I'm loved. Because it wasn't just about money. It was about giving me the information. And then the person without any money who had to dig deep to get that money, and it's usually just enough where they have to dig a little deep, they say, gee, I really appreciate what you just gave me because I had to sacrifice on an altar my pocketbook in order to get this information. So it's a little game Divine Spirit has devised to make you go inside and decide what's important for you. And they always know exactly what a person needs to be charged. And also to honor yourself.
You're talking a service, though. And I agree with you that everyone who gives a service, gives a reading, gives on that level, have the right to charge for whatever they feel they are worth. But what we're doing here is very, very different, because I am sharing wisdom, and so are the rest of you, so that this is how do you get to it within yourself? This is not a service. This is a sharing. And, I'm not reading anybody. Nobody's reading anybody, everybody can, leave their guardian angels and their guides at the door, because this is where we're digging into the philosophy of the spirit within, and how is it going to manifest within our reality as we touch into deeper and deeper and deeper understandings of ourselves. And this isn't a psychological project, it is a philosophical project, because all of us have our own philosophies, and all of us, our philosophies are all right for ourselves, and that's why I prefaced it with, for me, sharing spiritual wisdom with other people who are on the same kind of journey I am is something that must be given away. If you don't give it freely, then there's a string attached to it, and spiritual wisdom in and of itself should not have strings attached to it, in my belief system. And everybody is definitely different.
I didn't know you were talking about what we're doing here. I just thought you meant in general. I do apologize for misunderstanding. No, I do agree about this. Wonderful.
Yeah, no. I mean, no, I agree with you. I think everyone has the right to charge according to their own philosophies, and they do. So, but these days when we get together, this group here, this private little group, it's important for us to understand that the spiritual is tapping into that spirit within us, and that spirit is timeless, and it is formless, and it is energy, pure and absolute, and it has been with us for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It isn't with us, it is us, and I think someone I respected greatly once said, we are after all those that we've been waiting for, and it makes me it makes me humble to think that there is a part, an aspect of my soul, my spirit, whatever you want to call it, that has been here since the beginning of time, will be here at the end of time. So it's something that is going to travel from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, probably dimension to dimension to dimension, galaxy to galaxy to galaxy, and even beyond that over time. And it's an exciting process to understand that my body, is it will give out. It's going to go away someday, but that etheric part of me, that part of me that is pure ether, that is pure. It's not even. It's absolute. It's a spark of the creator or creation. It's a piece of infinity that I carry within me. Will just move on, and it will come back again, and it will create another form that will be its avatar, and it will go through the process of learning and growing and sharing. So if this lifetime I can help others stretch themselves a little bit, learn how to be a little more spiritual within themselves, and then grow from it, and have them change their own lives because of it, then my job here is done. And I have a feeling it'll take a while, but it's something that is very, very important for all of us to understand. Being spiritual is being manifestational, is putting your belief system out there through your actions. It's not a religion. It's not something that is worshipped. It's something that is lived and experienced. And you touch people far more deeply by the way that you are manifesting your inner belief system than you do if you say prayers for them. And prayers are great. I'm not saying don't pray, and I'm not saying don't go to a house of worship. I am saying that take it beyond that. And let's learn to touch into that inner spirit that we hold within us, so that we can expand our consciousness, and we can better imprint this reality and this time frame with kindness and love and sharing. And are we going to stop wars? Man, that would be great. But I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But you can change through your own perception, your own reality. You can make your life richer. You can make your life more joyful. You can make your life more bountiful. It's how you look at things. And I think the first step for all of us is trusting and having faith in the fact that there is inside of us that kind of magic. we all believe it to a certain degree. Everybody wants to have it proved to them.
But that would make take a moment to ponder. As you said, we are basically stardust. I mean, we've been here forever up until some moment when we created another consciousness that we decided to be human. What I've been wondering about is not the general why we're here. You know, we're here in Earth School. We're many different philosophies of why we're here. But I really, really want to get a big picture of what this really is, and that's kind of what I'm hoping at some point we can kind of piece together, because science has confirmed that this is very highly possible a holodeck, where almost a mechanical, computerized holodeck, in fact, when they start looking at what everything is on a quantum level, everything from sacred geometry to Fibonacci numbers to actual coding in everything. And if it is a holodeck, like in the movie The Matrix, and I talked to the author who actually wrote that, Sophia Stewart wrote that book. That book was downloaded to her in many aspects, the understanding, and I dreamt it when I was 8. So if this is an experience, I'm just kind of curious, gently, not harshly, why did we decide to do this experience? Are we in the future coming back in history in a hologram to learn our history, like a history class, or is it something else? Some people think it's a penal colony of the universe. I try not to think that. But why are we really here? And it won't take the fun out of being here, I don't think, because I think we're at a crucial stage in that understanding of, as you say, graduating and walking, because this is the walking on water stage and not sinking. I mean, a lot of us have walked on water. We've levitated. I know people who have levitated. But then you sink, you fall because you get afraid. So why did we come here is one of the things that, not why in a way that I just have to know, but just in a beautiful curiosity. What is this? And this whole scenario of us coming together, I mentioned to me, is like the blind men describing the elephant. Everyone's got a part of that elephant they're describing. If we could put it all together, we've got the picture.
I think that's very, very true. I believe that that before time began, there was an etheric energy. Before anything, there was an etheric energy that possibly even floated in a void. And as it created, as it became more and more creative throughout the, creating universes and all sorts of things, that at some point in time it became so large that the only way for it to continue to grow was to fragment totally and start growing all over again. And that's where our spirits came into play. Every single one of our energies, of our spirits, are a part of that totality. And our journey is to find a way back to create wholeness once again. Now, we've lost the roadmap. We've lost the memory of how to get there. And so in order for us to grow and expand and become what once we were a part of, is to evolve through time, and spiritually speaking, through time. I do believe that as a human species, very often, because we don't have a scientific explanation for something, we create a story that satisfies many, and then there are a few that just question it and say, wait a minute, let's go back a second here and check this out. It's happened over and over and over again in our history. We don't understand something, so we make up a story, and that story actually becomes reality sooner or later because we evolve into the technology that was explained. But the reality is our spirits have nothing to do with technology. That's only something of the earth plane. so that we are growing. I think we're going through growing pains at this particular point in time. We're beginning to understand that the spirit inside of us has total freedom. Once it's freed of the body, it has total freedom. It can choose to come back here or not, but for the most part, they do. And so that this lifetime, this planet, this sphere that we're on, has something to teach us as spirits. And once we've gathered that, we can move on to the next dimension, the next level, the next whatever. As far as being a giant petri dish, as far as being a penal colony, I do believe that those are the kinds of stories that are made up to explain an existence that there is no explanation for. And we always want to know why. And enough people ask questions, so a story is created. A lot of our major religions started that way. You know, where did we come from? God made us. God made us in His own image. If you go that way, that would assume that God is humanoid, or whoever created us is humanoid, or the extraterrestrials that created us were humanoid. And the reality is, we're just in a body that fits into this ecosystem. It's an avatar. We live in, this is a body that we travel in for this period of time. And if when you go to another dimension, another planet, another galaxy, the form you take will be indigenous to wherever you are. And it's a journey back to oneness. Now, that's my theory.
And I think you're absolutely right. I do believe in that avatar theory. I think once they said someone came up, this is just a story that came in spiritually, whether it's based on any fact, I have no idea, but this is what we heard, that someone came before the Great Council, whoever that was, quote unquote, and said, I found a new way to create energy. I found a new way to create matter. And the Great Council said, we had lost our God, wonder, lust, which I guess means their curiosity or their imagination. And they said, go ahead with the experiment. And out of that experiment came man one, earth one. So there's another philosophy right there, that this was an experiment. As you said, in consciousness, and avatar bodies were genetically modified in order for the spirit to ride around in. I think ancient history talks about
if you go way back to Atlantis and you go into the studies of Thoth, those studies talk about the oneness and the ether and the etherics, and that they only took form when they wanted to have experience of the physical reality. So that our bodies were not created. Our bodies, our bodies were not created by another race or another species. We created the bodies in order to function within this reality. So that I think my biggest shift in understanding all this material is that we're not being manipulated. We are the ones that have created this. You and I created this reality that wherein we dwell, and that those aspects of us that are a part of the great creation have all that power, all that energy, all that wisdom. We need only find a way to touch into it to be able to utilize it to make not only this realm a better place, but this species a better species, and do away with some of the things that are lower consciousness in other times, the physicality, the materialistic aspects of this reality. The more you get into the physical and the materialistic, the further you shove back the spiritual aspect of yourself. So you're living in the now. Instead of experiencing control of the now, you are living in it. You are allowing it to rule you instead of letting spirit help to guide you through the flow of the energy that is taking you to another realm. And we have a choice. we can become very materialistic and in the physical world, or we can flow along with the spiritual, and we can be a walking example of how a greater, kinder energy can change and shift the universe totally. It's all our choice. It's all our choice. And I think people today are going back and forth between, do I want to stay in the physical reality and just have that consciousness, or do I want to open myself up to the greater potential of the spirit that I have within? And as weeks go on, we're going to go into some of those cosmic laws that are out there that do guide the evolution of our spirits, and we're going to go into some of the ways that we can actually open up and touch into the spirit that we carry within and help it to manifest within our reality. And again, I'm not against prayer and meditation. I think they're both wonderful, but that's not spiritual. That's a practice. That's like yoga and exercise and all sorts of stuff. It does calm you. It gives you greater peace. But you only receive to the level that you have evolved within yourself. And I know just from the feel that there are people in this chat room and there are people on the lines that have gone so much further than I have, and just aren't trusting it enough to let it manifest within their reality. And as soon as they let it manifest, then their world changes, their life changes, things fall into place because the energy they're putting out there has a different feel to it. And I feel that we need to learn to work with what it is we're radiating. We need to learn to work with what's inside of us, because what's inside of us is what we're seeking.
Mm-hmm. This is fabulous. I want to back off the phone for a bit so someone else can get on if that's how we have this structure, because I feel like I'm taking up all of the time with you, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Well, if you have a question, you can always, or a statement, you can always type it into the chat room, and we can always come back to you. But thank you so much. I so appreciate your sharing, because, some of the others are just sitting back and waiting for somebody else to talk, and it's
Okay, well, I'll hang in here until someone puts the ninja
up. Nobody's going to put the ninja up. I'm going to put the ninja up for them. But thank you so much for sharing.
Call on them anyway when they don't have their hands up. At one point, too, when we're talking, I like to get to the concept of, and it doesn't have to be tonight, the concept of ye are gods, and not just gods that we create our understanding, but as Shirley MacLaine said at the end of her movie, I am God. So ye are gods and I am God are related, but I'd like to at some point explore that concept of God, whether it be a supreme being, whether it be, as you've been saying, we create a reality. We came here and did this. I'd like to really look at all of those different aspects of who we are. And it helps to look at it when you have friends, because it can be kind of scary by yourself. You're going, I don't want to push any wrong buttons.
Well, we certainly will. I've written it down, and we will certainly address it at some point in time. And we do have somebody else who's brave enough to, put the ninja up. So, Marie, thank you so much for sharing with me.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay, cool, Kat. I've got you.
Hi.
Who is this?
This is Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen.
It's Kathleen.
How are you?
Hi.
Kathleen.
I'm back at self-acceptance because I don't know how to go out there. And so, learning about self, knowing self to the full extent. And one thing I'd like to share is I was sitting having my own little meditation type thing, and I just got like a visual. And at first, I was like this cute little Indian girl dancing around the fire, and I had all these cute animals with me. Then pretty soon, all these like monster animals were on the outside just having a fit. So I'm going, gosh, well, who are they? And then I decided to open up the circle and include them because they were all aspects of me.
Mm-hmm.
So as I began to work with aspects of me, then I can pick and choose which one's going to come forth. It's a better decision making. I know they're there.
Yeah. Well, we've all experienced all sorts of different lifetimes and levels of good and bad. We've been whores and priests and, popes and saints and pirates and mass murderers. We've done it all. And it's just, I think when you try to get into security through meditation, that can be sometimes disquieting because our egos are in there, and our egos are that physical part of our minds that likes to manipulate and only has knowledge of this lifetime, and so it doesn't understand the concept of cosmic oneness, and it doesn't understand so many other things. So absolutely do. I mean, if you're going to meditate, did you do it in a group?
No. It just happened to me by myself. And what that did is it expanded exactly what you said. I realized that I have been everything that I see.
Mm-hmm.
And through my eyes, when I'm interacting, I look at that as an aspect of me, not taking away their individualness, but it really helps me on understanding, where people are coming from or whether I choose to engage or not.
Well, yeah, and you have the right to make that choice too. I think one of the wonderful things about us as individuals is that our perception, if we trust our perception, if we trust our gut, I often say to people, so long as you haven't had Mexican food the night before, you're fine. But if you trust that inner quality of you that isn't talking, your head talks to you, your consciousness talks to you all the time. But what's going on is that your higher consciousness is observing, is kind of watching what's going on. And to slide your attention over to the higher consciousness, to how do I live this? How do I make this better? How do I perceive this better? It's sort of like if you break your leg, you can say, "Oh my God, this is horrible. I'm going to lose pay. I'm going to be I'm going to have to sit in bed. I'm just it's going to be such a disadvantage to me." Or you can say, "This is fabulous. I get to read all the books. I get to catch up on all my paperwork. This couldn't have happened at a better time." And you know what? The way your recuperation goes in those two scenarios is totally due to your perception. So one of the first things you do is start to perceive of the fact that yes, you've been all those things, and this lifetime you choose to be even better, and that you choose to move in a more spiritual and a spiritual manner. But the big thing, the absolute big thing in all of this is not to get a greater philosophy, which is fabulous and you need to have it, but to become a living example of that philosophy. So that you understand that everything you see as you meditated was a part of yourself, and just as Marie said, that everybody you meet is a mirror for you.
Right,
everybody
right.
You meet is a mirror, and every now and then we come up against somebody that is really crappy, and it's sort of like, I don't choose to have those qualities in me, and I'm really glad that you showed them to me because I will not allow that to happen within my life this lifetime. I had a neighbor who was vicious and nasty and awful, and she really rolled her sleeves up when she came at me, and all I could think of was, I can take you. I can be nastier. I can outmouth you. And the reality was, wait a minute, Barbara. That's what you're going to become. are you sure you want to be that? And I took a look at her, and all I could think of is, this is a woman who has rectal cancer. She's literally a pain in the ass to everybody and herself. Do I want to become that? And I thought, not so much, not so much. You know? And so every time she came yelling at me, I kept telling her how good she looked, and I was so glad she was getting better. And you know, not only was it good for me, but she went away because I wasn't going to play. I wasn't going to play her game. I didn't need the mirror anymore, so she went away. And that happens in every case, in every so that you're seeking and looking inside and stuff like that, maybe even journaling. Wonderful. Put it into practice.
Right.
And that's where you get the growth. That's where you get the development. That's where you get the wisdom. That's where you get all of the really cool stuff. So I think that, you know, you've got wonderful ideas and philosophies here, and just the insecurity that all of us have that we're crazy. And it's so nice to have so many other people thinking they're crazy around me too. It makes me feel like maybe I'm sane. Because, well, seriously, you can talk about almost anything here, and no matter how weird it is, it's accepted, which is part of what's great about a development circle. Because there's so much that you know, we want to bounce against somebody else because we're not really sure if it really has, you know, if it holds water. And if it holds water for you, that's the only thing that's really important. But that you're here and that you're looking to get into the spiritual aspect of life is fabulous. And but you know, we all have to understand it isn't just a sometimes thing, it's a forever thing. It's an all the time thing. It's something that we have to integrate into our physical reality, and our consciousness has to make room for it. And it will. It absolutely will. But it's a matter of moving in that direction, of saying, you know, okay, ego, move over. You know, maybe I don't have to get even with this person. Or maybe, and just looking in the mirror, and when you look in the mirror, you say, I'm really fabulous, and I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of me. And you know, if you have situations in your life where you have become a victim, it's not letting people make a victim of you anymore. It's standing up for yourself. It's being not adversary. It's not attacking someone. It's just standing up for what's right for you. And I think you have a tremendous amount of strength, and I think it's wonderful that you're, you know, delving into all of this. It feels like a lot of the people here have been thinking a lot of this stuff, but they haven't actually been manifesting it. And that's the purpose of this development circle, to understand that we need to manifest it. It's not just talking it, it's living it.
When you're saying manifest, Barbara, you know, so if I'm thinking, you know, that I'm in charge of my reality and what's going on with me, and as things happen and as people come to me, it's very different than the type of people that came to me 10 years ago. So is that growing in spirituality, or is that just, because I feel like I'm tippy-toeing to get to know what I'm manifesting. I might have a problem with the word.
Well, you know, yes, of course they're different, because you're different too. We're growing, we're evolving, we're expanding our awareness. So the energy we send out attracts to us people that are like-minded or similar to us, or that need to, you know, present a mirror for us from time to time. And manifesting to me means this isn't just what I think or feel. This is how I live my life. So that you know, if your philosophy is that you know, if you're kind to people, people will be kind to you. Not everybody's going to be kind to you, but that doesn't mean that you can't still be kind to them.
Right.
And what happens?
Right.
So what happens is that what you put out there becomes something you create. And again, your perception is everything, because you perceive it as as a loving, kind, caring, whatever, and then it becomes one. So manifesting is not bringing something to you, it's putting something out there.
By through thought and action, right? I mean, are we on, I'm trying to get on.
No, it's actions. It's actions. It's thoughts.
So it's
thoughts are just in your thinking brain. That's your reasoning center. You can think peace, love, and harmony, and then you can go out and you can tell somebody off because they were in the wrong parking place. That's a disconnect between between thought and deed.
Right.
Somebody's in your parking place. You either find a different one, or you find a person and ask them to kindly get out of your space or whatever. But it's not the thought; it's the action that is the spiritual. That is the spiritual manifestation. Okay. It's a whole new way of looking at life, and it really works. Do I do it all the time? Hell no. Do I do it as much as I can? I try. I really do try. There are moments when I totally lose my cool and, finally probably go down 5 notches on the ladder in a heartbeat. But you climb back up. It's understanding the living it, not the thinking it, not the talking it. Anybody can talk a good act, but can they walk that talk? That's where we're
right.
Walking the talk is just, it's amazing.
So walking the talk is manifesting.
Absolutely. Okay. If suddenly you realize that you are reacting differently to things in your life, and life is becoming easier and happier and more pleasant, most probably you got in the right flow. You can always know when you're on the right path, when you're in that flow, because things fall into your path. When I wanted to do a program like this, I tried really hard to intellectually make it happen. And I must tell you, it was very expensive, and it did not work. And when I realized that I had, Blog Talk that I could do a private show on, and I just tossed it out. I tossed it out once on my Facebook, and I got bombarded with people. So it absolutely works. And it's like, oh. So it wasn't my thinking it was my allowing it to happen. And it works. We got somebody with their hand up, I believe, Deb. Is that Boat Mom? If Deb can figure out who Boat Mom is, we'll kind of bring her on too. I thank you so much. I so appreciate your asking the questions, because that's what this is for. And it's like any other show. People are drawn together because they all have a commonality. And I'm sure you asked the question. And a lot of people were probably thinking it. So that Boat Mom. She said, not me. Don't play with the ninja. The ninja will come get you anyhow. So it's kind of like you put it out there only because your consciousness picked it up before anybody else's did. That's all. And you were brave enough to talk.
Right, and I just wanted to clarify how we're using words, too, because now we're on the same page at manifesting. I don't know about anybody else, but I wasn't really clear on how that worked.
Mm-hmm. It's manifesting. Yeah, I can understand how that could be confusing, because manifesting to many people is making money and getting tons of good stuff coming into your life. And in reality, by living appropriately and walking your talk, that's exactly what happens to you. And mm-hmm. I want to also put out there, because it's important that everybody understand this. While I said this is not a psychic development or a mediumship group at all, once you have learned how to tap into that higher consciousness, once you have learned to really start walking that philosophy that you carry within, once you are more in tune with the higher spirit that you carry within, you become more intuitive and sensitive to other people, and quite possibly even tapping into the spirit realm. So it is a wonderful side effect to being spiritual. And you have to understand, everybody is psychic to some degree. But to have the added insight of a spiritual energy inside of you to add to that makes you an even deeper and better psychic or medium or whatever. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Debbie, you
Thank
find Boat
you.
Mom and you open her microphone. Thank you. I don't care. Anybody who flashes a ninja gets pulled on the air. So, hello, Linda. How are you doing?
I have a surprise guest for you.
Yes?
Unmute surprise.
Hello.
Hello.
So long since we've talked last.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I've been trying to debug my computer so I can get in, but I think I've actually got it now.
No.
Okay. And you're not buggy anymore? Whoops. Hold on. Are you there?
Nope. Yep.
Yes, you are. So do you have 2 cents to add to the conversation here?
No, I'm listening, and it's been very, very interesting. And I feel like we're starting from the bottom and we're working our way up, which is very, very nice. And it's refreshing. So I'm really liking what I'm hearing. So, woo!
Well, okay. So are you with Linda, or did she pull you in? Is that how that went?
Yes, she called me in because my computer was kind of funky. So, I'm probably going to go under my own steam in a few minutes because now I think I'm in the chat room.
Haven't the faintest idea. Okay, well, we have Queen here who has decided to chime in, so I'm so glad you're here. And I will come get you later. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so we've got Queen here. Hi, Queen. Glad you made it.
Oh, so am I. What a enriching, rewarding gathering of the pieces of our individual selves and our collective selves, and the remembering of who we are. So I want to thank you for taking up the lead in bringing us together again in this way under Mercury retrograde. And a little sidebar on that, Mercury retrograde obviously is not all they've been telling it. It is about, because here we are, traveling the universes and beyond back to the beginning of time, which is what I want to address. One question that, as long as I can remember, that rings through my life is that how you spoke of infinite energy. How did this all begin? I have no debate that we create, and we are creators. We are artisans. We are multifaceted. We are infinite. But what I want to put to the table, and what I would like for us to generate and bring forward for my edification and satisfaction, how did this all begin? I mean, it's so awesome. Sometimes I've said to myself, just looking out of my window, what is before me is awesome, just in that small view. It's awesome. And then to go, to turn my head to the left and to the right and look up and down, and and then go back into my memory banks and on and look, just my imaginations and but how always was and always will be is what we've been told and what it seems to be what we are beholding and what we are.
Right.
For sure. But my question is, and I will leave this open for thought as I bow out, how did this all begin?
Well, that's a good question. I think that depending on who you're talking to, there are lots of different philosophies as to how it all began. I would, the Bible says in the beginning there was a void, and then there was a word, and that's about as good as any. I don't think. I do believe. Actually, okay. So, as human beings, we want to know. Do you want to know how we started, or do you want to know how the universe began?
Oh, I can trace myself back to that beginning. So as a in person, I got that. It's how it all began, to the very beginning. That is my optimum question. And perhaps I have to go all the way back to which is what we are here doing, so that I get that answer again, so that I can remember, so that I can pull all those pieces together, because that's the ultimate question that I have. I have multitudes of questions. I mean, I'm curious, and I want to know this, I want to know that, but in reality, that's the question that I seek.
Okay, well, I can give you an answer. And you can take it from there if you want to, or whatever. As our scientists, as our theologians, as whoever, they are in great debate as to whether, energies got together and created the Earth plane and everything in order for humanity to grow, but I don't think that's the way it worked. I do believe that there was an energy that gathered so much and created so much in and of itself that it did explode, and it created what we now are calling our reality. I believe that before that energy was a part of another group of energies that created, and that energy was created by other energies. I believe there is a hierarchy that is never ending. And it's a spiral. It's very much like our DNA, but it goes on forever. And that constantly there is evolution more towards the top. And every step we take, towards the top, another step grows. Because I don't believe there is an end to time. I believe there are endings, but I don't believe time in and of itself ever ends. And time is something that we created because we needed to measure things. Time, going way back, there was no such thing as time. There were seasons and things like that. But time is just something that the human condition has created. And the thing that is so difficult is that we are trying to perceive something greater than we are with a consciousness that has no concept that goes that far. I believe that there is so much out there that is yet to be conceived and embraced and discovered that is beyond our imaginations. They do a lot of trying to speculate as to how old the Earth is, and I do believe that the Earth is very, very young in comparison to the rest of the cosmos and the universes, and that there is a hierarchy that created that which created what we now know of, and that hierarchy was the bottom step in another hierarchy, so that there's always something more out there, something greater than, to reach for, to achieve, to set our sights on, But once we get there, we realize that we're only at the bottom step yet again. So the answer to your question is, how did it all start? It didn't. It just was.
And that's an oxymoron into the logical mind of the embodiment, the spirit in these embodiments of the spirit, even in meditation. And what I'm saying as I'm saying and what I'm feeling and knowing is that you have to return back to that place, to that in the beginning, so that, and it's possible for us to go back there, for me to go back there. Because that's my question. That's my ultimate question. And as I started, for us gathering here and the pieces of ourselves individually and collectively, as has been stated and agreed, that we are unified. Recently it's been coming to my attention like the spider web, the vibration of that, and the web, the internet, and that's showing us how we are all woven together, how it's becoming easier and easier for us to connect. And, that is my question. And sure, there are hierarchies. There's eternity upon eternity upon eternity and upon eternity, and ever going forward. And even moving back, as you travel, you take us on journeys back in time with past life experiences and spoken word through your gifting to us. And it's awesome. We are awesome. Life is awesome. But I'm gonna leave that and ingest and receive what I'm getting from expressing the words, and so it was in the beginning. The words were spoken, and so it is, and so it shall be, and I shall have the answer come to me in this life or another.
Thank
you.
You're welcome. The cool thing is, to all of these questions, there is no right answer and there's no wrong answer. But here and there we will find an element of truth, and the purpose for ourselves, our own inner truth. And the purpose of groups like this is that everybody puts a piece out there, and sooner or later a puzzle emerges that we all can see parts of. And all of us do have, moments we touch into that higher consciousness. We have times when we do tap into that energy, and that energy does allow us to sing and to dance that dance of creation that is so phenomenal. We've all had those mountaintop experiences when just everything seemed to flow and the energy was perfect, and it was like, oh my God, I'm one with everything. And so we've all had those moments, and they're brief. Trust me, they're brief. But we know that they exist, and so we're striving to get to those places yet again. Groups like this, where the energy is pooled together, and everybody brings a different philosophy, a different aspect of, and a different perception of the essence of who we are and why we're here and where we're going, and how do we get to be better? How do we get to stretch into those aspects of ourselves that we know are there, and we haven't figured out how to touch them, how to open them, how to use them yet. Lots of times, people try classes and they try workshops and they try all sorts of things. And the answer to most of this, to be honest with you, is creativity. And it's the simplest answer is usually the best. And creativity is a part of creation. And so as we are creative within our reality, we open channels through which spiritual energy can flow and manifest within our realities. It opens doors of perception to us. And in the material I gave you, it spoke of how you can open those channels of creativity by doing things as easily as as getting joy out of being one with nature, out of looking at artwork and tapping into the creative spirit that created it. And by flowing with that energy, you flow into creation itself. You can do it through music, you can do it through art, you can do it through nature, you can do it through doing something that gives you such great joy that you are so carried away by the energy and the spirit of it that you lose time. You flow, and those are moments when you're tapped into that higher consciousness of yourself. And if you pay attention, if you listen, if you feel, if you pay attention to what's going on, you catch a glimpse of the magic that is inside of all of us. And the more you open those creative channels, the greater the energy that comes into your life. And it's your choice. You touch it and you use it within your reality. And I'm not saying you become an artist or you become whatever. I mean, Lord knows. All of us like to draw and have fun with drawing and coloring and things like that. Not all of us get published and stuff like that. But it's amazing. It's amazing what that creative energy can do, and you can draw on it, and you can utilize it in all aspects of your life. And so you know, if I had to give you a secret every time we meet, the secret for this meeting would be that in being creative, and you touch creation. In being creative, you are one with the Creator, and that energy, that power, helps you to perceive your reality better. It's a matter of going inside, not looking outside. And so often we are looking for someone to give us an answer, for someone to give us direction. And so it's phenomenal how you take, if you understand that you have that power. All you have to do is believe it and trust it. Or trust it and believe it, whichever works best for you. I know that in doing a group of sharing like this, I'm talking much more than I wanted to talk, by the way, but I know that you're going to get used to this, and you're all going to have opinions someday, and I'm going to have trouble getting a word in edgewise. But you know, you take from this, hopefully, that you have within you a spirit that has been around since the beginning of creation. Literally, it's wise, it's powerful, and it has all your answers. It has more answers than you can ever. It has more answers than you have questions, to be perfectly honest with you. And so, you know, if you take the time to get to know yourself, if you take the time to love yourself, it spreads and it reaches out to other people. And it's amazing how it changes and shifts your life. I mean, I'm sure there are many people that have stories that can, you know, give testimony to everything I'm saying. I know that being involved in the spiritual field has been an experience that has enriched my life greatly. I don't have any money, but I am a very rich person. And I do believe that the spiritual can enrich your life so greatly that it doesn't matter what kind of difficulties you have to face in life. They flow off your back if you can incorporate the spiritual. And the other thing that's so important is laughter. Having a good sense of humor about the fiascos that we put ourselves through is probably one of the greater gifts that you know we have. If you can laugh at difficulty, it makes it go away. Fear goes away. Lots of you know upsetting emotional things go away when we are laughing at them, when we don't let them have impact on our lives. And I'm not saying that if you are in foreclosure and have nowhere to go, that you sit there and laugh. You know, then they will put you in the loony bin. But you know, apply this appropriately is what I'm trying to say. And it's just so exciting to see how people can tap into and utilize these kinds of energies and can change their lives incredibly. And the mundane problems that hit us, like relationship, like finances, like career, all get taken care of if you're tapping into that energy within you, if you're manifesting and walking your talk, if you're discovering what your passions are for life and you're allowing them to become a part of your reality, not necessarily a job, but part of your reality. And it makes you so rich and so vibrantly alive that, among other things, you don't get sick because there is such a wonderful energy emanating from you that your body just bounces off illness. It bounces off dis-ease. Certainly something is going to take you out sooner or later, whether it's a bus or an illness or I don't know, a meteor falling on you. But we have to pass into the next life somehow. So death is inevitable, but that isn't an end. It's just a beginning because our spirit flows from our body. They've proven that at the moment of death, when the spirit withdraws from the body, it actually does have a weight, and they are able to tell when the spirit has left the body and has moved on to another reality. And it's a phenomenal thing. It's something that unfortunately science isn't really going to claim quite yet, and schools are definitely not going to teach it. But we have that spirit inside of us. It was there at the time of creation to touch into it, to allow it to communicate with us, to allow it to guide us. So often everybody says, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I shouldn't have done that," or "I knew I should have picked whatever." And it's important that we have a relationship with that part of our spirit. And we talk about it philosophically. We admit that there's a consciousness and a higher consciousness, and we're constantly talking to our consciousness because that's the part that connects us to this reality. That's our physical reality. That's our mundane reality. That's the nitty-gritty of this lifetime, but it's not. The importance of this lifetime is what the higher consciousness gathers, and that's the part of our being that we don't pay attention to, that we ignore, that we sort of, oh yeah, I have a higher consciousness, and I'm going to meditate and tune into it, and I'm going to channel from it, half an hour or so tomorrow. But the reality is that's the part that we should be paying attention to. There should be a balance between that wonderful etheric part of us and the physical, mundane reality part of us, because once we get those two in balance, nothing can stop us, because we have the best of both worlds. We have control of our physical reality, and our etheric is fueling it and helping to make things happen. We have a powerful energy here. It can do amazing things. Any of you that have ever done Reiki have felt that energy that comes through your hands, and that it's energy that comes through your hands. That's the higher consciousness. That's that energy force. It's coming out of your hands, but it is radiating from your hands. It is not your mind that is happening there. That's your spirit. That's your spirit sending out energy, and that's a wonderful healing energy that is just absolutely, tough to in any way turn back or turn away. But you have, in other words, you have gone to the higher consciousness through a physical learned modality in order to experience something that would have come out of your hands automatically if you would just willed it to, because you knew you had it. A part of our problem is that we are so conditioned to having to learn something and get a certificate for it, or experience it in our physical reality instead of believing in something with no proof at all. Those of you that have never taken an energy workshop probably feel energy too. You can feel the energy ball, and you can feel waves of radiating and sending energy. You don't have to have a certificate to do it. as a human being with a spirit inside of you, you have the power to send energy anywhere you want to. You have the power inside of you. And it's not the kind of power that you can arm wrestle with. It's the power that sends spiritual energy out and away. And it touches other realms, and it touches other people. And you know, we only use a very small part of the brain that we've installed in these avatars that we're walking around in. Lord knows if we used our whole brains, we'd be unstoppable. But we don't. And I don't know why. I don't know why we don't reach further, and we don't seek out those etheric, those spiritual, those non-tangible aspects that we carry within us. We're all capable of great love. We're all capable of great empathy. We're all capable of so many things that we just don't even try because we don't believe. And I guess the other part of all of this process is believing that we are capable, trusting in ourselves, trusting in the non-tangible aspects that we bring into this lifetime, because we all have them. And it's kind of it's challenging because, you know, sometimes at night when our consciousness is, you know, zoned out on Lord knows what, maybe a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich or something, our higher consciousness actually does astral traveling, and it takes us someplace, and we learn things, and we grow. It never sleeps. It's constantly there. It's constantly at our command, literally. But we need to trust it. We need to trust that it's there. And part of this group, part of discussion, part of, you know, sharing philosophies is learning that it's there. Spiritually speaking, we're all at the same place. We all have the same equipment. We're just not all using it in the same way. And I would love for somebody else to chime in here. Renee, would you like to add to this? Or, I don't even know if there's a delay here. Or Glennis, would you like to sort of chime in? I would love to have somebody who has insight as well. I'm not the only one here. Okay, Renee. Thank you. Hi, Renee. Whoopsie, hold on. I think Deb and I both pushed on you. Hi. Hello, Renee. Okay. Renee is not there. Let's see if can you find Glennis? I don't see her. I know she's there. Okay, let's try Renee again. Hi, Renee, are you there? Hello, Renee. Gosh, she's even got her little hand up. Okay, no ninja there. All right, so we're talking about, just said yes to everything. I love that. We're talking about how do we connect to that spirit inside of us? How do we know that we have that spirit on the other end of the line, so to speak? A great deal of it has to do with listening carefully. And you're not going to get a voice coming at you saying, yeah, I'm here. It's not like picking up the phone. But knowing that there is awareness there, knowing that there is the element of a higher part of ourself, I believe that most of us do talk to our higher consciousness on a very regular basis, and we just don't believe that we're getting answers. We say, oh, God, that was my imagination. I'm sure that wasn't, spirit talking to me. And that's another thing that's really important. When spirit talks to you, it's your spirit. It's your spirit. It's you. It's that higher consciousness in there. Sometimes we are more comfortable with saying, oh, that's my spirit guide, Felix. And, Felix is telling me this, or Felix is telling me that. 90% of people that have a spirit talk to them, they're talking to their higher consciousness. When I channel, when I do readings, I'm tapping into my higher consciousness. I'm tapping into that spirit that is inside of me because it has total knowledge of everything. And I can't think of a better place to go, and I can't think of a place that I would trust more highly than the spirit that has taken me through generations and generations and lifetimes after lifetimes. It's constant. And so it's a real this time. Okay. I think this is you. Is this you, Boat Mom?
Yes. Ann, are you
okay.
there?
Yes, I'm here.
She's
Can you hear me?
me? Put your hand up. Put your hand up.
My higher self wants to speak. Well, that's, Linda and I have always had this discussion, and this has always been a very big pet peeve of mine. And, we spoke about this many, many, many moons ago when people were always talking about their spirit guides, and it was their higher selves. Yes, you do have spirit guides that do come in for other people, but you do have, like when I say spirit is talking to me, talking about my higher self, the God within me is speaking. And, not to frighten people, I don't say my higher self, and I don't say the God within me is speaking. I say spirit. As people will say, Joe Blow is coming through and bringing a message of whatever. He's my spirit guide. He's been with me from age 12. Instead of saying, and for whatever reason, instead of saying, this is my higher self, or this is an aspect of myself that for whatever reason I've labeled, or I feel more comfortable in calling. Now, I've never understood that, but then again, I don't understand why people do drugs either. I don't understand why people are alcoholics. So maybe somebody else can explain that to me.
Well, I can't explain alcoholics and stuff like that. Without going into genetics and stuff like that. But as far as as far as the spirit part, I strongly I will say spirit wants you to know, and spirit's telling me this, and it's I sometimes thought early on, okay, maybe the smart thing would be to give my spirit, a cool name, and that way everybody would be more impressed by what I say. But the reality is the information is the same. Whether it's Barbara's higher consciousness or Spirit says or Melchizedek is telling me, that's the information you're getting. The only one that really whispers in your ear is the spirit that's already there. And are there spirits that walk around that we talk to and communicate with? Yes. But for the most part, most psychics are talking to their higher consciousness. And depending on how spiritually developed they are, they will give you the depth and perception and the intensity of the information they're able to share with you. It's real easy. The higher self versus the spirit. The higher self is the spirit. The spirit is the higher self. The spirit is the total consciousness. And the consciousness that the spirit brings to the body has a consciousness, a lower consciousness that deals with the physical reality, and the rest of it is the higher consciousness that deals with the spiritual realm. But when we pass on, the total spirit, all levels of consciousness go on to the other side. So that was just an answer for the chat room. But higher consciousness. I mean, come on, it's a perfect spirit. It's fully evolved. It's fully developed. It's here to have the human experience for sure. But it's all there. It has access to Akashic records. It has access to all sorts of information. And what better place to go? Frankly. Still with me, Annie?
Well, no, I'm still with you. I totally understand that, but I wanted it explained because I couldn't understand why people felt the need for it. I think there was a great fear, and it was almost like coming out of the spiritual closet for a lot of people. Like they figured if they called it something else, it was a detachment for themselves, so they didn't have to take responsibility if people found fault with what that spirit was saying, when that spirit is them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And
so I wanted to address that.
Well, and also there was a time, hundreds of years ago, where people who were trance mediums and stuff like that, in order for them to get the message across that they were trying to get across, they had to put on a show because that's what people wanted to see. Now, it's very much like the spiritualist church. I once asked, why do they do the mediumship at the end of the service? And the minister said, it's the hook that gets them in to hear the sermon. And it's true. And with the mediumship, it's the show that people want and needed to have in order to give credence to the information that was being given. Today's society is a lot more mature and a lot wiser and a lot less judgmental, and so they're very comfortable with us giving information without the show. I'd have trouble with the show. I can't keep a straight face, but it was a matter of they had to do the show in order to get the information out there. Now, a lot of people today, you're right, don't want to take responsibility for what they say, so it's easier to say, well, that was my spirit guide. I forget, I don't remember what he said or they said. And I truly believe that all people who are talking to higher consciousness have to develop their own dialogue and their own way of dealing with that in order to put the information that they want to get out there. Everybody has a sincere desire to help and to share. And depending on the level of the person giving the message, you'll know, you won't know where they are as far as spirituality goes, but you'll have a cue because those people that are really working on themselves, changing their lives, and growing spiritually themselves, give greater depths of understanding and greater depths of perception of what this reality is and how to deal with it. And so, there are people that will just answer your questions yes, no, or maybe. There are others that will give you philosophy. There are still others that will explain your passage through time. And it all depends on how hard the reader is working on themselves. That determines the quality that they are able to give you. And that's another reason for a group like this. It's very easy to, once you are functioning as a reader, to think you don't need to keep growing and keep developing, but that's so far from the truth, it's unbelievable. And I think my reason, my hope in putting a group like this together was that so a bunch of us could start throwing stuff out there and seeing if it, running it up the flagpole and seeing if it flies type stuff. It's a way for me to grow and hopefully for you guys to grow too, because it's the only way that we can become better and be able to help people in a deeper, more profound way.
Well, I also find, too, that in our spiritual evolution, we used to be very simple-minded. And I don't say that lightly. I feel like in the 3D plane, I feel our intelligence as far as, the human aspect of ourselves is getting dumbed down. But I feel that the spiritual evolution or the spiritual aspect of us is really getting amped up. Whereas before we used to be very simple, where you were a medium or you were a clairvoyant, or you were just very simple. What you were was just a very simple thing. Now we're like diamonds. We are multifaceted. And every time you turn around or you twist us a different way, you will see us at a different angle. You will see that there is more to us than meets the eye. We will glow at a different color or vibrate at a higher, vibration. We will give you more than you had bargained for, or first thought of. And it's an amazing, amazing thing. And I look forward to having so many people in one room and kind of, adding to the conversation, because even the people that you don't quite mesh with, there's always something that they say that kind of rings true with you. And, you can take it and put it in your toolbox and go, I can save that for later because that's going to be something that I need.
Oh, absolutely. And the cool thing is that every person who reads is learning from the people they're reading. I mean, it's an even exchange. And when you get when you get a whole bunch of people who are all sort of on the same page, it's so exciting because there's an energy that gets generated that will keep you awake for hours and hours and hours and hours. It's so cool because we're bouncing different questions back and forth here. Nobody has the answer. Nobody can say this is absolute, because nothing is absolute. And, level of consciousness, perception, the whole bit all comes into play. And if something someone says here triggers something in anybody out there that changes their life, yay team. And this isn't a competition. This is a sharing. This isn't a lecture. This is a sharing. And I understand people have to get used to and kind of familiar with putting their ninja up and asking a question or whatever. And this has been in the chat room a number of times. To be a teacher is to be a student, is to be a teacher is to be a student. And if the teacher isn't a student, then they're no teacher. And if the student doesn't learn to teach, then they're no student. It's a never-ending spiral, and it's phenomenal. And it's so exciting to be a part of that, and it's so exciting to have so many people who care. I forgot Ninja, not push one. I pushed one. Okay. Chris has something to say. This ought to be good. Hold on. Hello,
no,
Chris.
And then I pushed one again because you guys really basically said what I was going to say. Hello?
Well, put it out there anyhow.
And again, and since there's so many people here, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier to Renee too when I'm talking to Renee, is there as far as the, let's call them seekers, okay, the people who are going to listen to learn or whatever, they get this thing in their mind that, it's like, their spirit guide, or Mother Mary, or Mary Magdalene says, or it was channeling Archangel this or that. So now that there's instant credibility or something to what's being said. And, there's a lot of times that, regular everyday people say things. They could as well be claircognizant. You know what I mean? They can't say, my spirit guide said to tell you blah, blah. And so now nobody pays attention to that. And all I guess that I want people to do is forget about who's telling you whatever you're listening to. Just listen to what it is and then see if it makes sense to you. Don't attach instant credibility because it comes from someone's guide. And I was going to say, so many times people are hiding behind, and it's a little bit further than that. It's like there's a lot of frauds out there that are deliberately abusing this, oh, my guide said. But what they're doing is it's their opinion. They're telling you, oh, your energy is stinky. And they're hiding behind that it's their guide or that it's, something else like that, And
I like that their energy is stinky.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a technical term, You might have to go to your Lightworkers textbook volume VII.
Hey, I'm no Lightworker,
No. I know. No need for name calling. But, and too often I see this happen is that something could be said by someone like myself or regular everyday person in a chat room and people are like dismissing it. And then you put somebody up there like, oh, I'm just tossing a name out. Like, what's the one, I can't even remember her silly name right now.
Archangel Michael.
No, but I mean
Archangel
like a psychic
Michael
that's so well known or something like this. You know what I mean? Or even like Renee Richards could say the same thing I could say, and everyone would be like, "Oh, Renee," But I mean, it doesn't happen in Renee's room. Like I'm thinking about who's the one that Lisa Williams. You go into her chat room, okay, and all you have is a bunch of bobblehead people like idolizing this woman. Now, is she, well, like I'm not taking away from her capabilities, her abilities or anything. I'm talking about the listeners right now. And I'm saying like just because this is being said by Lisa Williams doesn't make it any truer than if it were said by Joe Blow. You know what I mean? But when Joe Blow says it, you guys blow it off. But when Lisa Williams says it, you like a fall off the chair with, oh, my God, how profound, and oh, my God. And so anyway, and yeah, I'm tired of the people that hide behind their guides or I'm getting this message from, and all they're doing is spouting their own opinion. It isn't coming from anybody but themselves, but suddenly they're seeking to attach credibility to it and not take responsibility for it by saying, oh, this is what I'm being told. Well,
it's going to be a beautiful world when everybody understands that everyone's voice is voice of spirit. Yours, mine, and everybody's voice is voice of spirit. We're all speaking from spirit, some louder than others, but all of us are a spirit speaking through a physical body. So when someone is rude to you, that is a spirit that's having difficulty coping. When someone is trying to be kind, that's a spirit trying to work through a personality that's very difficult. But the reality is, every voice you hear is a spirit speaking from deep within. And sometimes it's having trouble getting through. But your voice is the same as my voice. And it's the words that the consciousness puts into those voices that either impress or don't. But every voice is a spirit speaking. Every voice is a spirit speaking. And sometimes we can resonate and sometimes we can't.
It's just like kids, our society, we devalue the children, what children say, like because they're kids, they don't know. And I'm saying like it's a similar arrogance or snobbery that exists, And all I'm asking people to do
is so funny. I'm like one of the first people that don't do that.
Listen to not everybody does. I also don't. You know what I mean? But I'm saying our society in general, we can never say all people do anything. You know what I mean? Except breathe and sit down to poop. You know what I mean? But but all I'm trying to say is
you in the toilet.
I'm just your everyday blue collar spiritual person here. And but I'm just trying to say,
toilet.
Just listen to what you like. Put it to your own test. Forget about where it came from, and you'll find that you can dismiss stuff that you otherwise would put rubber stamp and validate just because of who it came from, and in the meanwhile you'll stop dismissing the profound stuff that's coming from people that you wouldn't, that you don't attach spiritual credibility to or whatever. And it's happening everywhere. Spiritual community is no better than anywhere else. There's snobbery and there's hierarchy being put everywhere.
That's how it's always been. I mean, it's been like that for a long time, and that's, one of the things that we are evolving and we are changing from. And I'm hoping, since that we are evolving from saying that my spirit guide is saying this and saying more so that, my higher self has stated this. And a lot of us have moved into stating that, or stating.
Because that's the style of whoever someone's learned from, and then we just hear a bunch of parrots, and like they're telling me, well, who? Like one of these days, I want to stop and say, who are they? Who? You keep saying they. Who are they?
I always say the powers that be.
So then fair enough. If I'm talking to a medium and they're saying your grandmother, then that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the general everyday stuff we run into, like, oh, I'm being guided to tell you blah. It's really translation is, here's my opinion, and I'm hiding behind the fact that I'm not, I don't want to take responsibility for what I'm about to say. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. That does happen. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I would hope
too.
It
too that when a message is coming through, it's like you have so many people on the other side trying to get that message across that you're kind of like a small child trying to like hear everybody.
Okay, but that's mediumship.
And then you're trying to bring the message across.
I'm dismissing mediumship from my comments. I'm talking about your basic psychic person or your channeler or whatever, and now all of a sudden every word they say you're supposed to bow to because I'm being told to tell you, or they're telling me, or this is Archangel Michael wants you to know, blah, And I'm just saying, like, mediumship is different. Like, this is where we're deliberately trying to have somebody connect to somebody for us, Of course, they're telling you something. I hope they're telling you something, you know what I mean? I'm talking about the ones that are all, like, out there going, oh, my guide said this, or, Spirit is telling me this to tell you, or whatever. Who's Spirit anyway, you guys?
It will be we are. And it'll be a great world when people who do this, when people who are tapping into that energy inside of themselves are saying, I feel this because this is what's coming through me, and it's coming from my higher consciousness. And something, my higher consciousness is a perfectly wise, totally evolved master teacher, as is yours. And
but you know what? Sometimes,
everybody.
Barbara, isn't it sometimes coming from our lower self, too? Like, that we don't have to always say it's coming from some high vibrational, like, sometimes it's just my opinion. And you know what? Like, sometimes a good message will come from a lower self because it's something someone needs to hear to get them into action or to do whatever. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm trying to say. Everybody feels like it's that light and dark thing that people go, oh, I have no dark side, and oh, I'm only love and light. And like I'm trying to say, let's bring some honesty into this, you guys. And it's not always a message from the high, blah, blah. Yeah, how
but
you're
aren't you confusing, your dark side does not have to be your lower self. There is your ego. There is a higher ego.
It doesn't, and I was
that
using
is in balance with your higher self.
Nobody wants to talk about their lower self, and in this community, and then I also then just what jumped into my head. Maybe they told me to say this, that that's the same argument or the same debate, the same struggle I think that goes on with these people about they're wrestling with their shadow side or their whatever you guys want to call it. Again, we get all caught up in terminology and what word a person uses. I think most people know what I mean. And, I'm just trying to say, don't get so full. I don't mean you guys, but in general out there, whoever may be listening that might be doing this, don't be so full of yourself, and don't always say, oh, this message is from the high self. Like sometimes, as I said, a message from the lower vibrational energies out there might be just as useful or helpful for us as any other message, right? It's just a message. Let's just say it's a message, And so anyway, I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right.
No, she makes great points. I do think that we're coming to a time where there is definitely an evolution of revolution where people are becoming more and more secure within themselves. I mean, it was at one time easier to say, well, my guide says this and my guide says that, and that must be what you need to hear. And instead of, this is what I'm getting, and give it. And you don't have to put a name to it because it's coming from you.